Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show, the Paul Brown Show. This evening, my guest will be Ms. Chia-Li Chien.
Thank you.
She's a successful business owner, author, and speaker. How are you doing today, ma'am?
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show, Paul Brown Show. Let me tell you a little bit about Ms. Chien. She's a succession strategist for women entrepreneurs, award-winning author and speaker, chief strategist of Value Growth Institute, dedicated to helping private business owners increase the equity value of their firms, award-winning author of the book Show Me the Money and Work Toward Reward, faculty member of the American Management Association. Her blog and newsletter named a top small business resource by the New York Times.
Right.
You do a lot of things. You do a
Thank
lot.
you.
And I applaud you for the success that you have had.
Thank you. Thank you. It's never been easy, but thank you very much.
Why did you write your second book, Work Toward Reward?
When I was working on my first book, Show Me the Money, Run Your Business Like a Prosperous Investor, I went through a lot of study about how statistics impact the small privately held businesses.
Okay.
And I found a lot of numbers. I found revenue numbers, I found industries, and I found lots of different things. However, there's one thing that I couldn't find, and that is what I call the business owner financial behaviors. And I decided to conduct my own study for the past 2 years to collect those data. And since I wrote my second book, and the second book actually is based on interviewing well over hundreds of entrepreneurs, specifically regarding about these financial behaviors, why make them so successful compared to the rest.
What does business owners say they want, and what are they doing to get it?
Yeah, there are typically 3 things that I found over working with clients that business owners typically say why they are in business.
Right.
They usually will say that, oh, I'm in business because I'm so passionate about doing what I'm doing. Or you will hear a lot of people say that, oh, I wanted to have control of my career path, right?
Yes.
The most people say that they are in business is because they want to make more money and becoming financially independent. However, through our study, we found that there are 67% of the entrepreneurs say that they want to make more money and becoming financially independent. Nobody taught them how to do that. How do you go about capturing the business equity value back at the end of the day becomes a very mystery for many, many entrepreneurs.
What are top common reasons people start their business?
What's the time of the reason?
What are some of the top reasons why people start businesses?
Oh, there are many different reasons. Sometimes I call them accidental entrepreneurs. They might be in the business because they have some ideas, or they are in the business because they were in some sort of career challenging situation. But majority of the time, people are in business that they're serious. They're serious are creating a business not just for themselves, but for the community that they can offer jobs.
Do you feel like in a lot of cases, whereas people get tired of working the 9 to 5 and they want to be their own boss, and by making this change, are they willing to accept that commitment that comes along with being that business owner? Because it's demanding.
Yeah, I think that a lot of time people tend to misunderstood interchanging flexibility with owning a business, because at the end of the day, when you own a business, there are a lot more responsibility. You have to make payroll on time. You have to pay your employees on time. You have to pay your vendors. You have to make sure you service your customers, and you constantly have to be on the lookout of looking for your next new customers coming in, as well as keeping up with the industry. There's industry changes, competitors changes, as well as economic changes. There's a lot more responsibility compared to just working for someone else. So oftentimes when I talked about accidental entrepreneurs, that's where I would tell people, think about it is probably a lot easier just to work for somebody else compared to all these enormous amount of responsibility that you have. And then if you trace back to majority of the entrepreneur are in the business because they want to make more money and becoming the financially independent, you want to make sure that at the end of the day, you are able to capture whatever the rewards that from the risk you took to be in the business to create, maintaining, and building a business.
The way the economy is right now, there's a lot of unemployment
Right.
going on. Why don't people go into entrepreneuring, starting a business, because that's an avenue that they can take? Why don't people go that route?
Well, I guess a lot of folks, especially if you talk to Small Business Administration, SCORE is particularly famous in the small business world. If you go through SCORE and find out why doesn't people go through the entrepreneurship, part of the reason is there's a lot of work. The very first thing that you have to do is to think about who are you actually selling and what are you selling. And you got to come up with a plan. And sometimes by the time your idea is all very much feasible to move forward, you need funding. And the funding could come from your family, your investors, your mother-in-law, sometimes your banks. It requires a lot more just by putting together an idea, but you also have to have the financial in the back end to look at, is it really a sound investment for anybody who wants to put the money into your business? And I think that's why sometimes people get discouraged, because that amount of work of putting together a business plan, putting together a team of people helping you, and at the end of the day, if you couldn't get funding, it is very frustrated.
For the individual that's pursuing entrepreneur, why is it important for you to really get the expertise of someone like yourself before making that decision?
Well, have you ever been to a whitewater rafting experience?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I was on a whitewater rafting trip last year, and it was about 2 hours run in the Nantahala River. Now, entire 2 hours run, it was a very big risk for me to take because I don't swim.
Correct.
I don't swim. It's a huge risk. So I want to make sure that I sit right next to the rafting guy. Plus, I asked my daughter to come out the trip with me. You see, she is a Girl Scout certified in these kind of extreme sports. She is my safety net, if you will. Now that day, going on down to the river, 2 hours run, of course, is lots of excitement and splashing waters and lots of laughters. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we will be able to still stay in the boat, because at the end of the trip, it was a 9-foot drop water. You want to make sure you stay in the boat and continue to have fun. Now, I suppose entrepreneurs are risk takers, so I assume I am one of them. And just like taking the whitewater rafting trip, with the right guy on your boat, I was able to successfully get to the finish line without any problem. For those people who decided to go onto the trip without any help, they obviously think that they want to save some money, but at the end of the day, you could be very well get stuck by the riverbanks or in the middle of the river, not moving anywhere. And sometimes that's what happened in small business world. You might be thinking about, why am I stuck? Is it the economy? And that's what a lot of people tend to relate to, that because of the economy or because of other outside reasons that their business is not moving forward. And that's the reason I think that it is wise to invest experts like myself. There are many companies out there can help entrepreneur. At the end of the day, only the experienced guy who know the water enough can help you navigate and maneuver to the finish line successfully.
How is breaking someone's, because I think fear has a big impact on a lot of people's decision of not becoming entrepreneur. How do you break someone from that fear of failing? Because at the end of the road, that's what we all think when we're trying to make a decision like that, that the failing part of it.
I think at the end of the day, you have to trust your gut feel. You do have to trust your gut feel about making decision. If you feel that you are not prepared, that means that you may not put yourself in control in the situation. And that's probably why a lot of people fear of going into the business. No different than someone who is in the business for a very long time and being very successful are fear of exiting because they may not understand what cashing out, exiting means. They oftentimes confuse that with traditional retirement. For example, who is the CEO and founder of Facebook?
He got a long name. I can't remember.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay,
yeah.
correct.
And so Mark Zuckerberg earlier this year, took Facebook. He basically cashed out through the initial public offering, right? He became an instant billionaire. Everybody knows that. Do you think that Mark Zuckerberg is going to retire anytime soon?
Not really.
Not
No,
really.
no.
See, so a lot of entrepreneurs confused about cashing out means traditional retirement. It really doesn't equate to each other. As a matter of fact, many privately held business owners, when they cash out, they may remain in the business for a very long time. This is a shopping season. You know, Amazon.com is very, very busy now. The CEO and founder of Amazon.com, Jeff Bezos, today is probably 13 years after he cashing out. He's still in the business and still running the business successfully. So the fear that you were referring to earlier, I think is because people really haven't taken control of what they are supposed to do. But once you know what you're supposed to do, you should be able to have no fear of moving forward.
Okay, what's the annual business value driver?
Yes.
And how the mission control activities that goes with that?
Right. As I mentioned earlier, when I conducted the 2-year study interviewing well over hundreds of entrepreneurs, I used specifically what I call the annual business value driver studies. What those are we identified 23 mission critical activities that I've seen a lot of successful business owners have done in their business with or without anybody's help. And so by understanding what those 23 mission critical activity is, we are able to collect those data and identify why are some business don't do those mission critical activities and why are some do it, and when they did it early, this is the result that they get to. So that's part of this, the book, Work Toward Reward. All the results are in there. You'll be surprised to find that majority of the business owners feel very challenged to maintain a healthy profit margin. And 80% of our study shows that entrepreneurs need to know how to cash out. They indicated they want to find out how to do that, but they don't know how.
What are risk takers' ultimate goal?
Well, the risk takers ultimately is to get some rewards, right? Just like my whitewater rafting trip. I went onto the trip, I took the risk. At the end of the day, I was able to claim the reward of the day. That was fun. Entrepreneurs are risk takers as well. And enable for entrepreneurs to claim that reward wasn't just about salary. It was at the end of the day how much business equity value that you can claim. Now, over the year, I found that there are 3 major categories of entrepreneurs. You got technician, you got manager, and you got business architect. Technician means that a business entity has the ability to issue the business owner a salary of less than $100,000 a year. Okay, salary, not revenue, okay? Manager means that the business entity has the ability to issue the business owner less than a $200,000 annual revenue salary. And then business architect means that a business entity has the ability to issue the annual salary to the business owner of more than $250,000 plus 3 to 5 times business equity value back to the business owner. And majority of the entrepreneurs are not business architect. There are very few people out there are business architect, knowing that that's one of the ways to claim the reward from their business.
What are 3 major factors impacting values in privately held business?
Yeah, I often ask that question when I go out doing speaking engagement or even working with clients, and there are tons and tons of answers that I got. Most likely people tell me that we need to get more revenue into the company, or we need to have more innovation, we need to have the right funding to expand.